What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tottenham Talk. Today, we get to talk about the most glorious of days, Man City having 3 losses and Tottenham being 2 of those. We pulled the double on City this weekend, but for those of you just joining, welcome back to another episode of Tottenham Talk. But for those of you who are here for the first time, Tottenham Talk is a Spurs fan podcast for stateside Tottenham fans who live for the badge and are looking for a lively, passionate, and entertaining Spurs community. But forget all that because that's not what matters. Right now, Matt, we just beat Man City at the Etihad. And we beat him for the second time this year. Well, I mean, let alone are we going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about all that comes with that. How do we do this? How did Conte pull this off? Pep's comments on Conte after the game. Pep's surprised, but at the same time, he really wasn't surprised because he's seen this with Spurs so many times. What players, went into that? Why was this time so different? So let's start off with, what are your reactions?
Oh my gosh, Clay! Like going into a game like this, there was a lot going as a fan. Just so much going through my head because I also like to bet a little bit on these games too, and just had to see what the odds were and stuff. And it was crazy to say that a week in advance, Tottenham was plus 1,100 odds, meaning like $1 would win you about $11. And at those types of odds, City was like minus 400 or minus 390, so they were pretty favorable.
Yeah,
which makes sense. Playing home, blah blah. Coming off of a form like our form, I thought it was going to be like a 1-2-0 win for City, to be honest. Wasn't the case. Was not the case, baby. All I'm going to say is our biggest threat is how well Conte utilizes the front three and utilizes Kane. I thought we saw one of the best performances of Kane in a while. And I saw a statistic that talked about like how some stats that Kane had under Nuno as opposed to Conte. And his average touches were like 4.1 a game under Nuno, another 6.1 under Conte. Shots on target is like 4.5 with Nuno, or with Nuno. Now it's like 7.5 with Conte or something. I forget the actual statistics, but it was interesting because obviously what the statistics under Conte were, significantly better than under Nuno.
Totally.
So I was, very intrigued with that stat, and looking back at the highlights again, watching the game, I've seen the highlights now like 3 times because it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's so critical on how we counter. And when we had the chance, when Kane had that chance where Ederson saved it, and we thought it was 3-2 at that point. I think that towards the end of the game, late like that, the ball was, all the way back in the back line. Bentancur has it, plays it Kane gets it at like a, as a target forward, but, really, really sunk into the midfield there. Plays it to someone or something like that. Maybe I forget who touches it. And then ball goes out wide to Bentancur. And I forget then at that point who has it, because then Bentancur makes the run and the ball comes, squared across the box, and that's when Kane had his chance from someone. And I thought our attacking football was the best we've seen when we played against them, and how well we utilized not just Kane, but our front three all had some significance in the goals we scored. Kulu had a goal and an assist. Son had 2 assists, and Kane had 2 goals. So
yeah, I mean, you look at it, it's super interesting because where everyone's saying, oh, Tottenham just counterattack, and largely that was our strategy against City, but we weren't afraid to build the ball to the back, which is where all our goals came from. I mean, it was not a quick counterattacks that City lost the ball in the middle of the park and we just capitalized on it. We actually missed some of those chances, and the ones where we actually scored was starting from Romero, starting from Ben Davies, from Hugo even. On the first one, Hugo to Ben Davies to Kane, one touch through to Son, the awareness from Son to play Kulu, and the goals were beautiful. They were almost Pep style, and it was really interesting to hear Pep talk with admiration of Conte after the game, because, you think of Pep as one of, if not the best manager in the world. And interviewer was like, Conte said you're the best manager in the world, and he said, no, I'm not. Almost asserting that Conte is that guy, if not close, because he said he's just always been so mesmerized, and always has admired Conte's style of football, but not only his style of football, but the way that his players play. It's not necessarily that they're always the most skilled players. It's the character that they play with, the way they carry themselves, and the mentality that they have that allows them to win goals in the 90th minute, where other teams, it's too late. Maybe even Pep teams, So the fact that Conte has that edge on him, and that we beat this City team, I don't want to say with ease because, it wasn't an easy game, but it always felt like we could score again, and that feeling you have as a fan where, and maybe even not even just as a simple fan, but like someone who understands the game and understands how difficult it can be to get into those situations and capitalize on them. You have maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think everyone had that extra feeling that, you know what, the Spurs can do this. They're going to do this. They believe, I believe, and it's little things here and there that I was just so impressed with our team that I can't get over. I'm still buzzing, 3 days later. And, I spent way too long photoshopping Harry Kane's face on different action movie heroes, Jack Bauer, John Wick. He's just all of them, it's just so great. But it's little things too. Like, I'm not sure if you saw the clip that was floating around Twitter. Matt Doherty, right after we scored the goal, the third goal, Matt Doherty comes in and God, he was already in actually, but he was not in for long, and being thrown into a game like that as a defender who's maybe not on the best path at Spurs. And that is, you talk about pressure, these people are still human. And he goes across, and I can't remember if it was Bernardo that he was following, or Gundogan, across the box. He takes a shot. Matt Doherty makes a great block on the shot. He follows him super well, keeps his feet, and it clears out. And Matt Doherty, you just see him go like this, like cheer, and like pump his fist because that's what it meant to him, and it's just like so cool to see that, like, that wasn't a big spot of the camera. Camera didn't zoom out on him, but you can just see him go like this, and pump his fist, and how much this means to them, like they're giving their all. They go to war for Conte at this point. Heck, I would go to war for Conte.
Well, you bring some you say that really good point, because I think all that is the competing factor that Conte instills in these guys.
Right.
And he said, I'm used to fighting for titles, not top four. And to have a coach say that to guys that are a part of a club that have been kind of in shambles the last couple of years, not really finding their feet, that's a lot of pressure to
totally.
Be able to capitalize on that. And so you make a great point, like Doherty's, how much it means to them, because I think Conte's kind of shown to them, guys, you guys can be good enough. I have the right players right now, or the guys that I need right now to do what I can, but we can make something crazy. We can make something great happen. We can make history. And I think he's made these guys believe that, which has brought a positive morale amongst the fans and the players to where now we go on and play, and we're playing quality soccer.
Yeah. One of the things I love to see, and I did we change our game plan, to face City? Of course, you have to, especially when we know that we don't have the personnel, that we're not up there with City yet, in terms of personnel. Do we beat them? Yes. Do we outplay them? Yes. We outcoach them, whatever. But we know we're not at that level. But at the same time, we didn't just pull what maybe Jose would have done and completely park the bus, and hope for that counterattack. I, as a defender who's confident on the ball, I was nervous when we'd play it short with their high line of press, because they had that level, that extra defense in their head, in their mentality, that it doesn't matter. We're going to play our football. We're going to make City adjust to that. And they did, and they couldn't, and that's how we got those goals. And yes, we sat back and played a lower block defensively when we had to, but that was just a simple tactical decision, right? That wasn't almost like we were conceding the game to City. If you look at the stats, it might not fall our way in terms of possession, but we had more shots on goal than them. So when you think about it, it was not a super dominated City game. They had the ball a lot, but that was the plan, but we still built out of the back, played Conte football, and got the ball to our players that we knew that they could make an impact. And they did, and they had the confidence and the belief in themselves, in the team, to do that. Another thing that I was really impressed by, and I know we've talked about this, I think what I have reminisced on most about Poch's era of football. It's not necessarily that we won, but more so, it was the mentality that if they score 5, we're going to score 6. And we've earned that back where they score a late penalty in, 90-something minute, 89th minute, and it's over. Game's over, right? It's very easy to give up. Not to mention that penalty was so, they called back. Is that a handball? Is that a natural position? He's flying down. What's a natural position in that aspect? It's so hard with VAR these days. And, whatever they call a penalty, I'm not necessarily saying it was a terrible call, but it sucked, right? And it's got to suck. And just, especially that we had that third goal called off already earlier. There's so many moments that our mentality could have broken, that our mentality in the past, past year, past couple months would have broken. So the fact that Conte has gotten those players to a level where they can believe in themselves and each other to fight for that extra goal, fight for the last minute. I mean, that's the third game under Conte, I think, maybe fourth, that we've won it in such a late fashion like that. And heck, if we can do that with the players we have now, just imagine if Conte gets a strong backing from Levy and the board this summer, and we're able to actually do something really, really special. So anything, what else was surprising to you about this win and the fashion in which we did
it? Honestly, everyone I thought played well. I thought everyone had a great performance. The whole team I thought was pretty positive. But it's not, I think it's 100% appropriate that the light shines on Kane right here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Premier League, this website right now. So I was looking at the stats, and Alan Shearer says Kane delivered a center forward masterclass.
Yeah.
And, I don't think people realize what he just did.
I think you're right. Let's dissect that a little bit. I mean,
and I think it's still kind of shocking to a lot. I think people are just kind of not brushing under the rug, but making it seem like, oh, 2 goals, nice win against City, that's it. But we just saw, Ronaldo quality, or Ronaldo caliber, Messi caliber, Mbappe caliber, these types of high-end players that Kane's talked about in the past that he wants to get that level at. And I think it's just absolutely fascinating on how much he's changed on and off the pitch under Conte. Totally. And, you can see he's becoming a leader. You can see because he pressures the ball when no one else does. He's, and there's the pass where it looked like he just did, it was a job because he didn't have, honestly, I think he was hopeless. No one there necessarily supported him, not even Daniel Levy, and the higher authorities in the board really supported him. And it just was like a situation where he was like, I don't know what to do with my situation because I want to play. And when I do play, I can't play well because of all this other crap going on with it. And
yeah.
I think it's just so relieving to see him perform this well against a team like that with the shit he has gone through the last summer and so on and so forth, all the way up to this present day. I think his performance, I'd argue his performance against City was better than Mbappe's goal against Real Madrid in the situation with that.
I totally agree. I mean, there's a lot of players I want to mention that deserve to be mentioned from this game.
I agree.
And we'll get there. But the spotlight is on Harry Kane, and it has to be because let's break it down. Not only did he score 2 of our 3 goals. Okay, that alone is great, right? That's a center forward's dream, right? Score 2 of the 3 goals, win the game for us in extra time, whatever. But he was a part of every single goal, not including the ones where he scored. He was a part of the buildup. You look at the one. Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's start at the first one, right? So Ben Davies passes to Kane. He's facing the wrong way, and he has the vision and awareness to one-time it with his left foot through Man City's defense, and Sonny's there. And Sonny has we're not even going to talk about the end of it. We're just talking about Kane right now. I mean, the way he drops in and plays that false 9, that number 10 role, it's just gotten so lethal, right? Then let's look at the second goal where he is on the far right side of the pitch. If you're looking at the way that Tottenham's attacking, and he plays that almost like, I have nowhere to go ball to Son, but he saw it. It wasn't just a hopeful clearance, and he saw Son. He knew exactly where he was going. And then he proceeds to sprint past Kulusevski, who's on the right side as well, into the middle to make that run, to get into the space for Son to play the ball back to him, for him to score. That's like a 40, 50-yard run that he saw and he knew before it even happened. So the way that he's able to, his vision has grown. We've talked about this a lot, him falling back to the 10. Now he's able to facilitate the ball, but it's gone beyond just facilitating the ball, switching the field. This man has eyes in the back of his head. That's why I call him John Wick. He sees everything. He knows everything, So there's nothing that gets by him at this point. And you're right. And Alan Shearer's right. And all the praise that he's getting is deserved, and more so. That was probably one of the best center forward matches we've seen anyone play in a long, long time. You have a Harry Kane who has been counted out by all of the pundits across, the UK, across everywhere, for the season, and a Tottenham team that has been struggling for years, who is on their second manager of the season, fourth of the 12-month period, and everything's going against them. And now you're playing arguably the best team in Europe, right? That the team that just put 4 goals in on Lisbon in the first half in the Champions League earlier that week, in the first half. And you look at it, and the fact that he was able to pull this out of his bag, it just shows the class that he has, and how he just continues to get better. He just continues to get better every year. I this might be a bit much, and who knows, I might still be riding the high from the game on Saturday, but I would not put it past him to score 20 goals this season at the Premier League still. I wouldn't put it past him. So with that being said, thank you, Sir Kane. You better be knighted soon here, because my goodness, what a player. Anyway, let's move on to some of the other players, because I think I wanted to mention 2 in particular.
I have one guy I'm going to mention.
Okay. My first one is going to be Højbjerg, because he has received so much flack this year on Twitter for giving the ball up, for doing this, for doing that, not doing the right thing, and people say he's terrible. Well, we saw it and we talked about it. He wasn't in the game against Wolves, and look how that went. So when he came back, it was his chance to prove himself. And man, did he put in a shift. He wasn't the prettiest player, but playing the team like City, he was the perfect player, because it was times like making that end it foul at the halfway line when City were countering after we pressed and we tried to step, and they were on the counter, making that foul, having the awareness to make that foul, the intelligence to make that foul, sprinting down the line in the 94th minute because he couldn't pass it anywhere. So guess what? He's going to outpace Kyle Walker while he's dribbling, and then he falls and he loses it, but he still kicks it out to make sure that, the time is stalled. And the way that he carried himself in this game, took up space and essentially just clogged up the midfield for City, was, I hope it doesn't go overlooked, and I don't think it will, but it was incredible, and it just shows how important this guy can be in big games like that against teams where they're just so good at facilitating through the midfield that, Højbjerg is indispensable. He's essential in that instance. But it's not to say that in other games or aspects that we might need someone else in that spot, but he deserves the props because he has been so good. And I think I hope he still gets, that praise. But what was the player you're going to say?
Eric Dyer.
Yep, that was my second one.
It's no coincidence. He comes back from injury and we win the fucking game.
I tell you what.
And you know what? And he's in Alan Shearer's team of the week. That's why I was mentioning it. So is Kane. And I was looking at just like some of the responses that he has, why he puts him in the team of the week. And that's what he says. Dyer returns from injury, Spurs win. It's no coincidence. He's been a key man under Conte. Simple as that. And despite the 2 goals we got scored on, one being a PK,
and the other being Hugo's fault.
What?
The other being Hugo's fault.
Yeah, the grit, the passion, the mentality to want to go into a 50-50 ball, the mentality to want to go into a header, the mentality to want to go into a tackle. Romero has this too, but yes, Dyer brings something that I don't think many center backs have. And watching him play with quality other players by him obviously makes a difference. But Conte's brought a different piece of him out. And it's very interesting what Conte's done as opposed to what Jose's done with him. And I do think, though, Jose has made an impact with Conte.
I agree.
With Eric, with Dyer, progressing, moving forward as a center back. But Conte's done something different. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it yet, but there's no coincidence. We win this game that he starts, and it's kind of crazy to think about all the crap that he's gotten, even from me. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah,
and
you are.
And this is yet one game. I understand this is one game coming from injury and stuff, but when he did start before injury, we were on a good roll, weren't we? Were we not?
Totally.
And then we go, loss, and champion Chelsea lost. We lost to Wolves.
Southampton.
Yeah.
You look at
point being though. No, you're fine. Point being though, and I'm sure you're going to talk about him too, but I want to get my part out before you went on because I know you love this guy.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's just absolutely crazy to think about how much of a difference he makes, not just defensively, but what comes with a center back is not, necessarily the quality of one-on-one defending, not necessarily the quality of, help defense and stuff like that, but being able to pull, he's not even the captain. And he acts like the damn captain. And I love that. I love that because not only do we have Hugo, but Hugo and Dyer, they all have such good relationships to where, Dyer brings this, hey, look at me. I know what I'm doing back here. Listen to me. And this morale of wanting to win, simply wanting to win. And him going up against Ruben Diaz in the corner and stuff. I know, I don't know if you saw it, but they're bickering, doing their thing, blah, blah, and the ref calls them over, blah, blah, little scandal. What I love about that is as a player, not personally for me, but I'm saying this for, Tottenham players, I don't know, this might be a little off, but I don't want to say intimidation going into a game like this or feel intimidated by City because of how, stacked and good they are. But Dyer didn't back down one bit. And Ruben Diaz was player of the year last year, wasn't he not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's
just like that. The demeanor and the mindset of, all right, let's play the game, baby. And not kind of being I don't know, standoffish and acting like it was. He just showed so much compassion for the game because he stood up for obviously what he thought was right, and same with Davies too. And it's just, I think, a very, very positive morale amongst these players to, lift us to honestly making top four.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know what I want to hear your thoughts of obviously about Eric and stuff, and obviously Davies back there with Romero, but Sanchez didn't play, and so which I'm fine with. But you look at he's made some poor mistakes and cost us. And looking at the lineup, I have it pulled up right here. What's so interesting too is, Romero, Dyer, Ben Davies is in the back. And then you look at, Emerson, Sessegnon, Bentancur, and then Højbjerg. And that's not a lineup that we've really seen yet. And especially Sess starting out left is different.
Yeah,
obviously,
let me get my thoughts on Dyer before we move to Sess and other spots, because I think that is important to talk about.
Well, my rant's about done. I'm not going to go on and talk about them. I was just going to say, just looking at the lineup, it's a bit different than normal, and I think it's very important to realize what Dyer is able to do coming off of an injury like that, and immediately playing it against champions, and being able to pull people together we can win this game.
Yeah,
that takes so much of a player. That's what I'm trying to get at. Sorry.
Totally. No, you're fine. Yeah, I get it. I mean, he is totally rantable because the success story of an underdog like Eric Dyer is something that you dream of, right? I mean, and I hate to be so romantic about it because there's lots of work to be done. Don't get me wrong. But this is a player that I tweeted out 3 words after the game. You know, it was resilience, patience, and grit. And those three characteristics, the resilience you have to go through what Eric Dyer has gone through at Spurs so far, not only from a lack of playing time perspective, but from the way that the fans have treated him. And you know, I'm not saying that should affect you at all, because it shouldn't. You're a professional, but it affects a lot of people. You know, it could have gotten to Delhi. It could have gotten to other players that we've seen, Gio, Tanguy, you know, some players that are supposed to be amazing, right? But the level of resilience that Eric has had throughout the course of his Spurs career is inspiring, and it should be to any young defenders. There's no reason that Eric Dyer does not take any of the starting England center back spots right now, right here, right now. If they do not call him up for the World Cup, it will be a grave mistake, and they will deeply regret it. They will deeply regret it. I mean, he outplays and outclasses Maguire, Tyrone Mings, Ben White. I mean, all these guys that are supposedly, you know, the best center backs in the Premier League, you know, and you know, they handled Ruben Diaz as well. So to my point, to see a player like Eric Dyer do this, you know, in all honesty, I think Romero is probably a technically better center back. But what Eric brings to the table, it complements what Romero doesn't, you know, and even Ben Davies, you know, Ben Davies and Romero, I hate to compare them because I think Romero is levels above Ben Davies, but you know, they're not going to be the heart of that defense. And I think we saw it even when Romero was there with Sanchez and stuff. Romero, you can't always, when you're the heart of that back three, you can't be the one that's stepping to every ball. You can't be the one that's making those choices, because it screws everything up. So you have to be there to organize and direct and push and inspire your entire back line and midfield to do those things, right? You're almost like a director, you know, or a composer. You're telling everyone what to do from the back, right? And the way in which he does that, whether it's the safety, the sense of responsibility that he has, and the sense of comfort that he brings to the back line to his counterparts on either side of him, it just creates a much fuller defense that we haven't seen at Spurs in such a long time. And he deserves every ounce of credit that he's getting for this, because we said it. We miss Eric Dyer. We said it for 2 games in a row when we couldn't see him. More than that, we said it for games in a row that we missed him and that we needed him back. And sure enough, first game back, we're on a 3-game losing streak. We're about to play the best team in Europe, and we beat them. And like you said, it's not a coincidence. And guess what? I don't specifically remember Dyer making a ton of tackles and clearances and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of headers that I think were really good, but I said it before. A good center back performance does not get any praise, because that's what you want. You don't want to have to get praise, right? And that's what it was. So, I mean, round of applause for Eric Dyer, because he's essential to our back line. He's essential.
I agree.
And I can't wait to see how his story continues. But going back to the mentality of the team, I wanted to mention one thing before we wrap up here. The drama that was going on with Conte in the week leading up to this, which felt very, it just felt very, very gross because of the way that this was, the journalism around this, you know, that when he had an interview with an Italian journalist and he was saying what he thought about the team and stuff like that. And Matt Law in particular, one of the reporters on this, was talking about, was just misquoting and giving misinformation around Conte and what he thought about the team and how he was ready to leave and how all this stuff. And there's so much drama. And I love that Conte came out and squashed all that. And he said, I'm very happy at Spurs. And after the game, he said, this might be the best group of players I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And for him to say that about our Tottenham team, such an imperfect group of players, you know, such a flawed group of players that isn't the PSGs of the world, the Man Cities of the world, the Real Madrids, you know, it's not that. It's not perfect. But the fact that he's able to say that and to the player, to a manager that I think player character and player mentality is more important than skill, it's so good to hear. And it's so refreshing as a fan that these guys that we watch week in, week out, they can do it. They are up for the task. And man, I can't wait to look to see what's going forward. So my final question is, or my final statement, I guess, would be, relish in this glory and this excitement. But come Wednesday, don't expect that everything is over and everything has changed, because this is a step-by-step process. The rebuilding of this team.
The next game is what, Burnley?
Burnley on Wednesday. The rehabilitation of this Tottenham squad and their
this is the makeup, isn't it?
Yeah. So a very important game, to keep this momentum rolling into the Leeds game on Sunday, because that's not going to be an easy game. Mm-hmm. Man, you showed us that yesterday, but what a game, what an outcome, what a performance by everyone on the pitch. I'm speechless. I really am. And it's a lot of words to say for someone who's speechless, but
it's just everyone played such a good role and a positive role, and everyone did their job, and we got the result from it. And yes, it was against the champions, and we always play well against City. It's weird. We always play well against City. And if we can play like that every game, holy crap.
Yeah, there's no reason we shouldn't get top 4 if we play like that every game. So I just enjoy this win, Spurs fans, because we deserve it. In all honesty, we deserve it. Enjoy this, and let's bring that energy, that passion, that support going into the Wednesday game, because the boys need it. So what an episode.
Though.
Yeah.
I want to know hidden gem.
Yep. Yeah.
Agreed. Player of the game.
Okay, man of the match, Harry Kane. Can we agree on that? There's nothing.
Man of the match is Harry Kane. But what's your hidden gem?
My hidden gem is Kulusevski, because we didn't talk about him at all. Because, man, what a player! What a player! 21 years old.
All I'm saying is I praise him.
I know.
It's fantastic.
What a player, because the way in which he came back to defend and played his defensive role when it was needed was incredible. That's something that Emerson needed. And because he was able to do that and help out, and then make the same sprints going forward for 90 minutes in his first Premier League debut, and not even celebrate like Iceman, like he is cold as ice. He does not have a sense. Do you see those celebrations or lack thereof? He did not have an ounce of celebration in his body. I don't know if he was just like, oh my God, I just scored my first Premier League goal, against Man City or what. But what a player. I can't wait to see more from him. The at the end of the game, when time was running out, he made that sprint. He could have left it off and kept the low press, but he pressured Cancelo to keep running towards his own goal and, not get a chance to bring it back up and give the ref an opportunity to give them more time. It's just sprints like that when you're dead tired, when there's nothing left in the tank, that you keep going. That play, it's something special. So that's my hidden gem. How about you?
My hidden gem, I'm gonna actually say, especially between two people, I'm gonna say Højbjerg.
Was it between him and Bentancur?
Yeah, and I didn't want to say Bentancur because of what you said, Kulusevski, and Bentancur did play well, but I want to say Højbjerg because of what more he did. You brought it up in this episode about how he was outpacing Kyle Walker, and when he plays for Denmark before he came to us and he played at Southampton, he was all over the pitch. He was all over the pitch. Attacking the ball, going forward, getting back, all that stuff. And we saw that against City. We saw that yesterday against City, or 2 days ago against City. And so I think his performance, at least for me, I think needs to be mentioned, because I think obviously the midfield, it can't just be one guy. And I'm not giving all my credits to Højbjerg, because Bentancur did,
Bentancur deserves,
he
praise as well,
too.
because he
deserves
played incredibly.
Well. I'm looking at it, and it's between the two. But the reason why I said Højbjerg is because of just
I think it's totally warranted.
Oh yeah, well, all the backlash he's been getting too, and all that stuff, and there's no doubt in my mind that Bentancur in the future is going to have another great performance, and I'm sure he'll hit another hidden gem spotlight here sometime in the next episode or one after that. But it was also his first start too as a new player. But Højbjerg, I thought, was someone that really deserves that spotlight, because also all the backlash he's been getting and the performance he just brought to the table was exceptional. Not just as a overall player, but he played a center mid role the best you can play a center mid role. And I thought it was absolutely class what he did. But I don't know. I mean,
Totally.
the
my play of the game is Højbjerg's foul that he took him. I can't remember who he took out at the halfway line.
De Bruyne.
Yep, it was so good. It was so needed. It was so perfect. But
And
yeah,
De Bruyne like shoved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Højbjerg said,
tactical. Give me yellow. You know, and I would say my hidden gem was the build up play. When Kane had that
play of the game.
beautiful one-on-one against Ederson and it hit Ederson's foot. We should have scored that. That is arguably one of the best build-ups we have ever had.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I mean, the one that the only one I can think of that tops it or is right there is when Aurier scored against City or against United at United when we won 6-1.
Yeah, but even then it wasn't.
But even then though, but that ball was so great and everything was so great about that attack. Looking at this one, it just puts that one in underwater.
Totally.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, and I love how you and I and, fans too are just able to see tactically what Conte tries to do and install these players and how we attack left and the right side and sometimes in the middle. It's all, 33%, 32%, 28%, all roughly the same in terms of even play amongst where we attack. So it shows that we're so versatile in our attack.
Totally.
And so,
yeah,
that's fine.
Well, heck of an episode. I mean, I couldn't be happier with the game. I'm excited. I can't wait to watch again. I mean, I'm counting down the hours until the next game, to be honest. So thank you guys for listening. Be sure to check us out on all socials. We are on TikTok now too. So hopefully we'll have some fun clips there as well. Everything is at _Tottenham_talk. Check us out, interact with us. Let us know your questions. Let us know what you think we got wrong, what we got right, everything. So thank you for listening. And as always, come on, you Spurs.